Liz, thank you so much for being with us today. We're thrilled to have you. Do you want to give us a little introduction and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I am Liz Carter. I am the CMO at Reputation, and I've been with Reputation almost 3 years this October. So it's been a great run, and excited to join you today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, I know some of the things that I've been reading about new things happening at Reputation and just happening overall in the market were a couple of the topics we wanted to talk about today because I am very interested in reputation intelligence. So tell us a little bit about that and kind of what is making a difference for you all at reputation.com and what's new with that.
Yeah. So I think, everyone in marketing today or even in business today understands that, things have really changed in the digital landscapes,
Yeah.
certainly because of AI and all the different search platforms that people go to that are using AI in very different ways, and Reputation's right in the center of that, right? We started as a company, more than a decade ago, really helping businesses manage their online reputation. And as that world grew, right, as reviews became bigger, as listings on these platforms became more important, we had just a repository of all this data that our customers can access and sort of use in ways to sort of show up better online, and then we kind of got really further into the world of customer experience, right?
Yeah.
Because you have all this online data, and now you really want to understand more about your consumers and what's happening. So really understanding the voice of the customer. And so anyway, we've been in that business for a long time, but as these changes took place, we decided, the reality was we were going to have to actually change the way we brought data in, analyzed it, and served up insights to our customers. That's what we've always been about. Always know, always act on this customer feedback. But with AI, the world has changed, right? AI is meant to really process so much data, but the old ways of housing that data to make it valuable weren't gonna stack up. So we actually spent a lot of time making a decision to re-platform our products. And you mentioned reputation intelligence. What we really want to do is serve up more reputation intelligence to customers so that they can make really strategic decisions, so they can have it in the palms of their hands when they need to, ahead of some big brand failure
Right.
that can happen really quickly in today's
Yes.
market. We want to give them access to that data really quickly so they can make smart strategic decisions.
I love that. I've always said in the world of online reputation that, we should move away from reacting and that I wish it would act more as like a warning system,
Totally.
to like, uh-oh, be
Totally.
aware, something's starting to happen here. And it sounds like that's a lot of what you're moving towards and have been
Yeah.
doing.
Absolutely. And I mean, you think about sort of voice of customer programs were built around NPS scores and surveys and CSAT, right? Which those are great metrics and have gotten businesses really far because if you rally around something, you can make it really important and impactful to your business.
Yeah.
But survey data is also reactive, right? You collect it over time, you look at it, one or two or three times a year to understand what's happening. But in today's market, like things are changing every day. As the
Yes.
dialogue shifts online, your brand is being looked at potentially in a different way because a new review popped up and it went viral, or some sort of social post, and you didn't have access to that data in a time, right? Or that was never going to come to you in a survey result.
Yeah.
So I just think you have to kind of really rethink how you are thinking about your brand's reputation every minute of the day.
I agree so much. And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is how our consumers are searching now with AI and with more of a, generative response versus just the typical Google response, and how that's impacting the way that they're managing their reputation. What have you seen, or what are you like, girl, let me tell you about this. This
Yes.
is what we need to know.
Well, let me tell you about this. Actually, we're partners with Google. They're a huge partner of ours. We do a lot of business with them. And one of the stats that they presented at an event I went to like earlier this year was around how I think it's 15% of daily searches are brand new. So think about that. And this is in Google sphere, right?
Yeah.
What that means is people, 15% of people are searching in a very different way than they used to, right? They're searching with so much more intent, an emotion. I am doing the same things. Now all of a sudden you know that AI can really pick up on your intent or your emotion or what experience you're looking for. So Google's trying to think through that. Okay, they're searching with all this intent. We've got to make sense of that intent, and then we want to serve up the right answers to meet that intent, right? And so that's a big shift. I mean, that's a shift, right? Where it used to be these, search terms and phrases, and you could really rely on people to search in that way, coffee shop near me. Well, now that's too bland, right?
Yeah.
I want a coffee shop with great atmosphere that is, going to make me, feel good about my day. Or I want a coffee shop that's quiet and I need to study in the back corner, right? Those are two very different things. And you might want a very different answer for that. So businesses today really have to understand the intent behind their consumers and what they're searching for.
Yeah, I think that is so true. And I think it's really fascinating to see the difference of when I got in the game. We won't talk about how long ago that was, of the being told and knowing that we searched, even when I was a renter, 2-bedroom, 2-bath near me, or 2-bedroom, 2-bath luxury. Like, nobody is looking that way anymore.
Right.
They are wanting search results that are very specific to what they're particularly looking for in that moment, and the details that they're searching for. They know so much. Like, today's consumer is so much better informed than I feel like we ever were, and it's really impressive. But then also, as a marketer, I'm sure a bit scary to have consumers who are this informed.
Exactly. Well, and not just informed. I mean, they can create their own sort of journey, their path to finding you, right?
Yeah.
Where it used to be, you're looking for an apartment, you go online, you search using those phrases, you get the list of apartments, you already know whether you're showing up in the top 10,
Right.
so you've made their short list. Well, today, a renter is looking, for an experience, right?
Yes.
They're looking for a place that's going to give them a certain type of experience. And they're doing research in ways that you can't even always see, right, online. And so you have to be sure that your brand is showing up in the way that they are searching in these different places, right? So knowing the intent behind your renters, your residents, right? And understanding how to serve that up to them, whether that's in social, making sure your listings are up to date and they talk about, the community that you provide, I think even Google says that, visual imagery and video, it's ranking higher for them, right? Yeah. So making sure you have those visuals out there that they can pull from, because they want to show visuals, because that's what the consumer wants,
Yes. Yeah.
And so really, really kind of having to think through all of those elements in a different way. I think it's an exciting time to be in marketing. Things are shifting and changing. But actually your brand and your reputation is just so much more important than ever before.
Yeah, I know I did research in a past life that we looked at how renters were looking. And one of the things that really came across as wild to me was that often, to your point about pictures and videos, I would see them when we watched their behavior, when we were monitoring like the actual consumer. they're like opening up a website to search and they were just clicking around on a bunch of different photos.
Yeah.
No real like budget, or I only want to spend this much, or I want to live within, 3 miles of this particular area. And I remember at the end of that research talking with one of my other researchers and saying, it's like it's just vibes. That is how they're making that decision real early on. And then they want to qualify that with, am I on the right track with my vibes of the
Yes.
reputation? Where I believe in previous times, it feels like maybe even 10 years ago, the reputation is kind of what set you apart at the very end of the funnel, when I would have, 3 apartments I was deciding between, and then I'd just go double check that everybody was kind of okay and someone wasn't talking about roaches all the time.
Yes.
But now it feels like it's much earlier in the funnel. If it's not managed well, you're really getting kicked out of the choice.
Oh,
Like you're
yeah.
not even getting to have a tour or show them that it's different or anything like
Right.
that.
Yeah, I mean, they just won't even call you, right? They won't
Yeah.
even walk in your door if your, Google ratings are below a 4, right? I mean, how many places do you look at a, hotel or a rental property, or, that is below a 4, because you
Yeah.
just are thinking, well, that's not good, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, they don't even make it to you, right? And I think that companies have to be very aware of that if they're not already. I think most companies are aware of that, but they have to really understand, how do you manage that in real time? And if companies have multiple locations, how do you have your brand voice, the who you are, show up in your review responses,
Yeah.
in your listings, and all of those things. And sometimes, especially in property management and real estate, these companies have different brand feelings, right? Like one property is very different than another, and you are kind of looking for different types of people, the different intent that those people are shopping for. And so it actually gives you a lot of ability to market to the audience that you think would really want to be where you want to be. But you have to have that information. You have to really understand that consumer's journey, why they're buying, what they're looking for, why they're renting, all of that.
Yeah, I know today there are so many different ways that a consumer can get from point A to point B, to the end
Yes.
of, I'm going to lease here and I love it. And it can be really difficult to figure out what a successful campaign looks like, or what success with your reputation looks like, because there's so many different touch points.
Yeah.
What do you think is most important for today's marketer as far as success? Like, how should they measure success?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I mean, frankly, I think marketers, businesses, I mean, ask themselves this every day, right? um, it's like, this is the holy grail of something you're trying to do
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
I think that you have to boil it down to a few, like, leading indicators, right? What are your leading indicators? I mean, lagging indicators are things like, hey, we have to have so many people, renting like so many full units, right?
Yes. Yep.
Versus, like, but if you don't have those numbers, you're already behind, right?
Yeah.
So you need
Yeah.
you need leading indicators. What's getting people to even consider you as a business? And one of the indicators we provide at Reputation is called your reputation score. So this is an indicator that is showing you, what is your online reputation. We score it based on across 10 to 12 different factors, about how you show up online.
Yeah.
Whether that's in Google, in other search areas, your ratings, your response rates, how often you respond, how quickly you respond, the sentiment of all of that. Anyway, we give you a reputation score. This is real time, right? This is based on data that's coming in every day. And so it evolves quickly.
Okay.
And to me, and to our customers, it's a leading indicator of what's happening in the market. They
Yeah.
can very much tie their reputation score to, foot traffic, people coming into your office or calling your office to get a tour, like what you said, right? And they manage their locations based on that reputation score. You can invest more in some of these locations because they have a high reputation score and they're doing well. There are others where you think, okay, well that location needs something, right? We're not connecting with the locals in the right way. How do we do that better? Like, let's dig in and figure that out, you know? And so I think having something like a reputation score is an indicator and something you can measure your business on. And then you have to choose the other leading indicators that you want, right? And there can be others, for sure, I think, but you need a couple leading indicators to really manage your business well.
Yeah, I think that's so true, more so today than ever before, because we've said this over and over again already, just in the few short minutes we've been talking about, but things are changing so quickly.
Right.
And I know there is such a push for more centralization and for our operations teams to just have, a really nailed down ability to act quickly and to have all of their operations really streamlined. And I can't help but wonder, what does that look like to the end user and to the consumer? We've seen some really interesting dialogue around that online on LinkedIn, talking about like, hey, we went and secret shopped some properties and we got the exact same email response from 15 of them, within however many minutes. So I think it is so important to have those leading indicators that are going to tell you before your occupancy is dropping, like, hey, this is what you are, the message you're putting out to consumers, even if you're not fully aware, because it is really hard from the inside trying to decide what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, one of the new products that we've recently launched is called Voice of Brand, and it's really focused on helping businesses understand what is the voice of brand we are putting out there in the market, and what's the voice of brand that we want to be. Do those two things match? We can take your brand guidelines, we load them into our tools and systems, and then we help you shape with your employees how you respond to reviews. How should you show up if that is the voice if this is the voice you want to have or not, right? And we can flag things to you. Hey, this went out and it's not really in line with your brand guidelines, right? How do you want to maybe do training in a different way so that people understand, your voice as a brand and what they should be putting out there in the market?
I think that is so important, because I often do a little baby market research with my teenager, and I always think it's fascinating when she thinks that a brand has a certain personality, or like this is how they are, and if they try to be cool, like every once in a while you'll see a brand trying to be like snarky on Twitter or wherever it is, like trying to have that kind of voice, and she's like, ew, that's not, no, she would think that was hilarious from a brand that
totally
gives them that feel. So I think it's so important too to figure out who you are, how you're perceived, and also to, not that you can't shift, but to stick to that in a way that resonates with your customers.
Well, totally. I mean, yes, a lot of examples of companies that have tried to shift away from who they were, and maybe that didn't work, right, for the ultimate consumer. But yeah, I think that, any sort of, I think in today's market, that brand management has really risen to the top. And getting your arms around your brand, your reputation in the market is just, it's very different than it used to be, right? Yeah. And so ensuring you kind of have your finger on the pulse is what is really important. And you need to have partners and tools and technology to do that well in today's market.
Yeah, I think it is so vitally important, and then we can chat about some other things as well. But one of the reasons being is, again, when I watched how renters were looking, I was really fascinated to find out that so many renters or prospective renters were looking in markets that weren't even the same area. I can remember a time when we considered our competitors the properties that had similar rents within 3 miles of us. And I was watching renters go, well, I don't know, I might live in Austin, or I might move to Nashville, or if I get a roommate, I might move to Boston. And I was like, what are you talking about? You don't even know what city, but they weren't choosing by city, they were choosing by the actual community first before they
Yes.
even chose the metro area they were going to live in. And it
Yeah.
just blew my mind.
I think you and I probably were shopping for, apartments. I was back in Buckhead doing the
Yeah.
same thing, right?
Yeah.
Just looking within a certain mile radius of where we wanted to be.
Yep.
And absolutely, like that was where you wanted to be. And then you were just sorting through what are the spaces you want to be in. Yes, we can thank a lot of things for today's, market and people who are looking for homes and rental units. Remote work makes
Yep.
things a lot more accessible. So you have a lot more options than you used to. So,
Yep.
and that's just true for anyone, right? And so, you're a business, you have to understand consumers are out there and they have a lot of options, especially as it pertains to locations and movement, and they're not tied down like they used to be. I
No.
also think that, Google even said at the same event that I was at that people are looking for an experience. Like they were talking about travel and how travel people are looking for a local's experience, like even when they travel, they want to go and be like a local. And I think that translates into like where people want to live, right? They want to live in a community that feels like something they could connect to, right? And so I think that especially when you're thinking about people that are looking for places to live, and you said it I think earlier, they're looking for a vibe.
Yeah.
They have a certain vibe in mind, they're looking for that, and that could be right where they are, that could be 1,000 miles away, and
Yeah.
they have a lot of options.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I was just reading an article about a community that is, well, they're touting to be the first. I won't argue with them. I don't know if they are technically, so don't come for me,
Marketing, love
y'all,
it.
if it's not the first. But the first car-free community that has been built, and I believe it's in Arizona. But the article was talking about their success and that it's because people in Arizona are not the ones moving there. That this community has such a vibe that people feel like it is like more, one of the people who lived there said they felt like they lived in Greece because it was all, bright whites and murals and like little pathways, and that the lifestyle lent itself to getting prospective tours from all over the place. So how wild to think we're in an age where you can be creating a brand for yourself that is so far reaching that you could lure like a Texan to
Right.
Arizona or someone from Maine to go live there. I think that's just what a world of opportunity we have.
That's
What
very
might be more
cool.
difficult, it's wide
Well,
open.
yes and no. I mean, I think it creates
Yeah.
a lot of opportunity,
Yeah.
right? And it actually, to me, as a marketer and as somebody who, loves branding, loves telling a story, like this is a great time to
Yeah.
really figure out who are you as a brand or the multiple brands under you, and how do you really reach the consumer, the renter, the resident that you think would love to be where you are, right? And I mean that's what it's all about. And
Yeah.
and so it's not fundamentally different than it used to be. It's just though finding your path to making sure you put that out there in your listings, in your content, in the videos and the pictures that you have, and then you can see how people are reacting to it, and right, and your reviews as you show up online, is it matching that brand vibe that you're
Yeah.
looking for?
Yeah, and so important now to have that brand awareness, because if I can live anywhere, but I know this brand is what spoke to me and what treated me well, or the
Yeah.
group that I loved in Austin, maybe that's what I look for in Nashville, or maybe
Totally.
that's what I look for when I'm hoping to live my dream someday of summering in Maine.
There you
So,
go.
whatever it is. But I
Exactly. Well,
know
and
that's
and you
important.
recommend to a friend, right?
Yeah,
Like just because maybe
absolutely.
that's not your thing anymore, when you see someone who's looking for that, like you're now going to you're going to give that to somebody else.
Yeah, it's so incredibly important overall. So, what would you say, Liz? Like, what is the one thing that you wish for real estate marketers, for our world, for property management, what's the one thing you wish they knew? Like if you were like, oh, I just want to impart this one piece of wisdom to them for modern day marketing or for generative search or whatever it is. What's that one thing that you're like, they need to know this?
Yeah. Um, I, I guess I think you said it earlier, and this is to me, this is sort of cross industry,
Yeah.
but given we're speaking to folks that are in real estate marketing, I do think that um, you know being sure of who you are as a brand, and then ensuring that you are consistent about putting that out there in all the different ways that you are today, and as that grows and changes over time, that you continue to do that, right? And if you decide to make a shift in that brand personality, you need to be really thoughtful about it, and you need to then be consistent about it, because I think consumers today don't like things that are not backed up, right? They don't like any inconsistency or question marks in marketing, in what they're seeing and reading about you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think you just have to be really thoughtful, and it is why I think the other thing for me is just data. Like, you got to pick your one or two leading indicators that you really manage your business on, and you got to make sure that one of them is real time, meaning you're getting an update on a regular, like on a daily, hourly basis, because that's how quickly things are shifting in today's marketplace. And so you got to have a leading indicator, and then you also just have to be really consistent, and if you're changing and shifting, that's okay. I think consumers understand that world shifts and brand shift, but you gotta bring them along on that journey. And I think that's where people get that wrong, and they make a shift and they don't bring people through that journey with them.
Yeah, I can think of a million examples. I won't name names, I promise. But right now, as you're saying that,
Me
I'm
neither.
going in my head and like, okay, yes, I can see this. Yes, I can see that. And I think it speaks again to how there's so much data out there that even for our consumers, they can check, right? They can check to see if what you're saying is backed up. And if it's not, you lose that credibility so quickly, and
So
it's so
quickly.
difficult to get it back.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the idea of focusing on KPIs that you can do something about and not on all of them. I think
Right.
everyone is drowning in data right now. Maybe
Totally.
it's just me.
No, it's not just you. We all are. I mean, I think everybody is. And the expectation of AI,
Yeah.
it's whether it's in its hype, the highest part of the hype cycle or just the
Yes.
beginning, it's unclear. But there's a lot of pressure on business today to, understand in seconds what's happening, and I think that we all fall victim to that, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just think really understanding what your leading indicators are, sticking to them, evolving them as things shift. But I think it's a really important thing.
I agree. So, thinking about the future state of things, what are you most excited about for the future of marketing or the future of real estate? Like, there's got to be something that you're like, ooh, I get a little pumped up about this.
I mean, I think I said before, it's an exciting time
Yeah.
in marketing today, and to be in real estate and to think about some of the things you and I had talked about already on this call is just, I think that their consumers have so many more options. Renters, residents, they have a lot of options. They can be really picky, right?
Yeah.
They are searching based on very different things than they used to. So it's really upon all of us as marketers to understand that data, to think about who are we and who should we be marketing to, because they're going to be the best person to come to this, place, and to make it a home and get a lot of value out of this community, right? So I think that it is an exciting time, because you can really, try to understand so much more about your buyers because there's so much data out
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
at your fingertips, and do some really fun and creative things. Speak to the consumer that's meant for you in a way that maybe you weren't able to before because you didn't really like put that stake in the ground and say this is who we are and who we want to be serving.
Yeah, I think I get really excited about when I think that this is a time where there's a bit of a leveling of the playing field.
Yeah,
I can remember when only the communities with the biggest budgets could really reach renters or make an impact. And now it feels like it's going to be a bit more, maybe, I'm hopeful, but a bit more honest that maybe
sure.
it's going to be the communities that are treating their people best and have a really
Absolutely.
great sense of community or really excellent customer service, that it's going to even that playing field out a little bit of put your money where your mouth is. And also, if you have a smaller team, you have access now to tools and opportunities that you just really didn't before. So I get really thrilled when I think about how maybe some of our, no shade to our larger operators, we love you, but that some of our smaller operators with maybe smaller budgets will also be able to shine in a way that they couldn't before.
Totally. I love that idea. And I think that, at Reputation, we've always said, and as we've kind of shifted into this era of AI and really looked at building our platform with AI at the center, it's about using technology to actually strengthen the relationship between those residents, and the community that they choose to live in, right? So really helping give these operators the information they need to connect in the way that they should with those residents. And I think that's what's really important to us, is to not disconnect,
Yes.
right? Not use AI to be disconnected from those renters and those residents, but actually to better help you find the ways to connect in the right way.
I scream that from the mountaintops, and I'm like making your friendship bracelet right now because I am so on that same wavelength. And I've been saying that for years and years and years, that technology should be helping us so that we have the time to have better personal connections, because it does not matter how far in the future we are, humans are still going to human, and they want to be seen and they want to be heard and they want to feel a connection with the other
Totally.
people, especially when it comes to their homes. So whether it's making connections between neighbors, with the staff, all of those things matter so, so, so much. I still have the wind chime at my house that's outside my window that one of my residents gave me in, 2001,
Yeah,
because they were thanking me for something. And like, I think about that
totally.
connection 20, what are we going on, 25 years later, that's
Right.
still going strong, and how privileged we are to manage and take care of people's homes for them.
I
And so,
mean, exactly. Not
yeah.
what an emotional kind of decision people have to make,
Yeah.
and it's so important for them to be getting to make the right decision, right? To live in a place, and I know that the operators take that so seriously,
Yeah.
right? As they're doing their marketing out to get people in. And I think it's a special thing. And to be able to really understand how to connect
Yeah.
in today's market, I think is a game changer, like you said, for any of them.
Yeah, I really think even in the future, when I think about how to prepare, my kiddos for the world, the professional world in the future, I'm like, man, if I can just teach them logic,
Yeah,
because they're going to need it when interacting with a
totally.
computer, and how to interact with other humans, I think they're going to be pretty far ahead of the game. And I think the same with today's marketers. If we can teach them that data is great, but they've got to figure out what data matters and how to still connect with humans, it's going to be a great world that we live in the future.
Yeah,
Oh, I love this.
absolutely.
This is the best conversation. This has been so much fun. Was there any one thing that we should leave on that you're like, hey, I didn't get to tell you this about what Reputation is doing, or any other wisdom you want to impart on us before we?
Well, I'm not sure when this airs, but
Yeah.
we have an event coming up on September 8th where we are launching a set of new products on top of our Built for AI platform. And I think that really it's just about like I said earlier on, it's about ensuring our customers have access to the intelligence they need to really make strategic decisions. And because things are changing on a regular basis. And so I would encourage listeners to either listen to that recording or join the event live, and really understand, what's the sort of foundation that you need to ensure you're managing your reputation in real time, and how that can actually benefit you from a strategic position.
I know I'll be watching if I can. I love all of this information, and I love hearing about all the new innovation that companies that I've known and loved for a long time are coming out with and the ways they're changing. I just think it's so, so impressive. So thank you, Liz, so much for being with us. We appreciate you, and we loved hearing all the amazing things that Reputation is doing. So we look forward to hopefully chatting again in the future soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.